I'm Beth Barista, and you're watching PHTV4 Spotlight. And today, the spotlight is on Spring Birding 2025. We're here at Wild Birds Unlimited with Mel Tracy. Mel and his wife Laura are the owners of Wild Birds Unlimited, located at 13012 South LaGrange Road. Mel, thanks for having us today. And I want to start by asking a little bit about you. How did you get involved in birding, and when did you start?
Well, my family used to take us on like family camping trips and that kind of thing. But I didn't really get into birding until I started dating Laura, and she was out here. And I would drive through because I grew up in the city. And so I drive out here, and there's these like wetlands, and I saw this big, crazy bird. I didn't know what it was. It turned out to be a great blue heron. And I just was like, oh, that's so cool. And, I got a terrible camera at the time and tried taking pictures of the great blue heron. I kept scaring it off and stuff. And but that was the kind of spark bird for me, the bird that just really kind of got me into birding. It was like, wow, what is that thing?
Great. And you mentioned your family. I think it's great to get your family involved. It's one of those activities that the whole family and anyone can really do. You don't need a whole lot of equipment or whatever. You can just all go out and enjoy yourself. Okay, good. Let's talk a little bit about backyard birding. So over the winter, a lot of us put a seed out for the birds. What should we be doing now? What kinds of feeders? What should we be expecting to see with the migration right now?
Well, one thing is we get some fruit into the mixes or whatever you're putting out there. There's a lot of fruit-eating birds that are kind of coming up from the south and migrating up here. And so that's a great way to attract kind of new birds that are going to be coming through in spring. I also have a couple of things here. We have an Oriole feeder, which is just the Orioles are attracted to color orange, and people put out oranges for them. Part of the reason is the food they eat down in South America, because these guys are coming all the way from South America up, is orange in color. So a lot of times they get here and they don't really care for the oranges. So we always tell people put out grape jelly with it. And for whatever reason, the birds, those Orioles just love grape jelly. And if you haven't seen an Oriole, they are such beautiful birds, and all the time people will tell me, well, I don't get them in my yard. I've never seen one in my yard. And I'm like, have you ever put out an orange? And usually the answer is no, right? And so it so often happens that people put it out and then they get these Orioles and they can't believe it. They're like, oh my gosh, I've been here for 30 years and I never once saw them. And once you get them, they're just so much fun. The other one is a lot more people are familiar with the hummingbird feeder. And, it's just such a fun activity to have these guys just buzzing through the yard, and they're not, when you get a hummingbird feeder, you just want one that's going to be super easy to clean up, because it is important to keep the feeders clean.
Okay, great. Yeah, that is an important fact. You have to clean hummingbird feeders out, especially when it's really hot, like every couple days, I heard.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's almost like just having fruit juice out. If you have fruit juice out in a cup for like 3 days, it's gonna get pretty gross. But and I didn't say this, but April 15th is usually the time we tell people to put it out. You'll usually be a little bit early, unless you are the one in the Chicagoland area who gets the first bird. But April 15th is usually the first one arrives. But you want to be there ahead of the birds, because you want them to know that there's a food source there, so they're going to want to set up camp, and you're going to enjoy them the whole summer.
Okay, great. Good information. Let's switch gears now and talk a little bit about the migration. Where are we in the migration process, and where would you recommend us going to take a look at some of the birds that are migrating?
Well, the last couple of days, the sandhill cranes have been migrating through, so that there's already stuff happening. In my own backyard, I've got some of the red-winged blackbirds back, and they're singing, and you can hear a lot of the chickadees and the cardinals. They're all singing. They're like trying to establish territories already. So things are already starting to move, and it's just the beginning of March. But the first things through are the ducks and the waterfowl, and so there's a lot of great sloughs in the area. There's also the eagles are already sitting on nests, so that's super exciting. So they're already on eggs. There's quite a few in the area, so those are great places to go. Any of these kind of sloughs are the kind of first places that they're going to go.
Okay. What about time? Is there a good time, morning, afternoon, or is it just kind of whenever you can get there?
Well, in spring, it's definitely the mornings and the evenings. And the one thing, if you get one of these apps like for Merlin, that really the birds sing a lot in the morning, and you can kind of watch it on your app. And then once you get a bird that you really want to see, you can kind of just figure out where it is. So I really recommend getting that Merlin app. It's free. So if the app you're looking up isn't free, that's not the Merlin one. And the Merlin one is the best one, even though it's free. It's from Cornell Labs, and they do a lot of great work.
I tried that last time when you told us about that, and it's amazing how many birds, and, you look around for them. I'm not great at figuring out who it is or whatever yet, but I guess I need a really good pair of binoculars. Let's switch gears a little, Mel, and talk a little bit about the avian flu.
Okay.
Are we seeing an impact, or will we see an impact in the avian flu this year?
Well, I mean, we've already kind of seen it. We saw it a lot in the fall, but coming up in spring, it's going to kind of die down, I think, a little bit as these ducks kind of go back up, and then they kind of separate out into their own like pairings and stuff. So you'll definitely see a dying down of that. And I mean, the most important thing is that it just doesn't affect the passerine birds. So passerines are just all our little songbirds. So it's not going to really affect them. But, if you are in an area where maybe you've got ducks that come under the feeders or something like that, like try and keep the feet off the ground. It's never once happened where, someone like got something from a duck. So I don't want to be an alarmist here. Yeah. But just if you have ducks around, they're the carriers. And so that's the kind of the vector. They just get sick. They don't really die from it. But yeah, it's better to the chicken farms that way.
Okay, great advice. Moving on, is there any advice you can give to experienced birders or new birders that you haven't told us about yet?
Well, honestly, I would follow Liz, who works here, has Instagram. My wife Laura does the Facebook, and that's a great resource for all of the things that are happening. Every day they're putting stuff out there. That's number one. Number two, it'll kind of keep you up to date on when we're going to do spring bird walks, and that's just a great way to get out. Even if you're an experienced birder, it's great because you get to help other people get introduced to the hobby, and you help other people find birds, and so that even if you got a lot of experience, it's a great way to share your love of birding. And for us personally, we'll go to McClory Springs over here and maybe see 50 different species of birds, which is just like crazy, So it's like we live in such a great area, and it's such a great opportunity. But if you're going to go out on your own, I encourage you to do that. There's so many different forest preserves around here that are just spectacular for bird watching.
I went on one of your bird walks last year, and I was really so happy. Everybody was so helpful. It was such a nice community of people, and so they would spot the birds and they'd show me where it was. So it's a really good, nice group of people. So,
good. Bring a cup of coffee, and just enjoy yourself.
Okay, Mel, last question. Is there any bird you're particularly excited to see this year in the migration, or something that maybe you haven't seen in a while?
Well, I'm always super excited about all the warblers, and there's so many different ones. And one of my personal favorites is the black-throated blue, which is just a spectacular. He's a little guy. He's so little, and they migrate all the way. Some of them overwinter in Cuba, but most of them are all the way down in South America. And this little bird that weighs a couple of ounces migrates all the way up here. It's just a spectacular bird to see. So I'm really hoping for the black-throated blue.
Well, I hope you get to see that this year. Maybe if we go out to your bird walks, we can all see it together.
All right.
Okay, well, Mel, thank you again for having us. I'm Beth Barista. This is Channel 4 PHTV Spotlight with the spotlight on Wild Birds Unlimited. Have a great spring and happy birding.